Breaking news as unemployment surges to 13.7% with 35 million Americans, according to the government, now unemployed, despite what you guys are hearing on mainstream media of an unemployment rate of 4.2%. So today we're going to go into all of the unemployment and layoff crisis and what we expect to happen in 2025. And at the end of this video, we're also going to tie everything together on how property taxes are absolutely killing people. Mitch has made another amazing form. And before we dig in, happy Sunday, Mitch. Vexler, how are you, sir?
Can you believe it's Sunday already?
Brother, I can't believe it's 2025 already, let alone Sunday. So I really appreciate you being here on the weekend, Mitch. Let's get started right now. And I want to show the viewers what the mainstream media is reporting as far as the labor market, layoffs, and unemployment. And then we're going to go back into something that I find very, very eye-opening and important, which is the household pulse surveys. This is what most of the viewers are seeing right here, Mitch, which is the normal unemployment rate that the Federal Reserve and the economists and financial advisors are going over. They're literally only going over this number right here, which says 4.2%. I want to remind you guys that unemployment's also going up. And generally when unemployment goes up, it goes up right into recession that we've probably been in since 2012. It's very hard to tell, Mitch, with all the inflation and the lack of honest data, but nevertheless, unemployment is going up. But this is saying only 4.2%. But in the beginning of this video, I said 13%. I'll get there in a minute. You guys may remember, and this article came out Thursday, which was January 2nd, initial jobless claims tumble to an 8-month low to end the year. And if you guys want to go more into this, it's right here. It's a Zero Hedge article. This is before the unadjusted claims come out, which it always adjusts. But now that we're out of that presidential election, maybe they'll stop lying to us, but that's very doubtful. Now, that's what the mainstream media is saying. When we go into this right here, you guys, which again, this is the United States Census Bureau, the household pulse surveys, this paints a much different picture. One thing I want to point out is when you guys come here, and this will be linked in my description, when you come to the household pulse survey, it actually has multiple different data sets you guys can look at. I want to remind you guys that this is going to be linked in my description, the household pulse survey section, and this has many data sets and tables you guys can go to. It has education tables, employment tables, which is what we'll be looking at today, food scarcity, health tables, housing tables, transport spending. That's an interesting one. Natural disaster. I mean, the household pulse surveys has a lot of information. What I want to go over is the employment household pulse survey, because this one is extremely worrisome. Again, this is the experienced loss of employment income by select characteristics in the United States. So the first thing that I want to tell you guys is the poll is taking into account about 256 million. You guys see that right here. Now, when it comes to yes or no, as far as employment loss, okay, this is not even if you're employed or unemployed. This question is asking experience loss of employment income in the last 4 weeks, and that's for self or a household member. But I want to point out the crazy thing here, and this is really, really concerning, and I want you guys as the viewers to think about this. According to this survey here, all right, in the last 4 weeks, 35 million people lost their job in the last 4 weeks. 35 million people, which would mean 13.7% of the workforce lost their job in the last 4 weeks. That's what this is saying. So when we divide again the 35 million of people that say yes, they've lost the employment or know someone in their household that has, and when we divide that into 256 million, that's an unemployment rate of 13.7%. Now, again, if we put in the last 12 weeks, would this be higher? Now, I know they put self or a household member, but nevertheless, there is a massive discrepancy. And according to this report, 35 million people, they don't have a job right now, which means they're knocking on the door of bankruptcy, eviction, and foreclosure. Before we get into the recent unemployment and layoff information, I'm going to show you guys what's happened in the last 2 days, roughly, or 3 days. Mitch, my first question to you, sir, is what data set do we use? Both of it's coming from the government. One says 4%, the other says 13.7%. What is it, Mitch? Is it 4? Is it 13? And why?
It's a function of how they're running the math. So the pulse survey could be using some sort of trajectory in order to figure out that number. But I find it very interesting that when we ran the spreadsheets for Denton County, and those spreadsheets are available, you've got them. You've already posted them, they're on my website as well. We calculated that 32% of the population, household population, was going to lose the roof over their head or go bankrupt. Well, isn't it interesting that that number just showed up in the Pulse survey? So there's a high likelihood that these two are correlated. Now, one obviously says within the last 30 days, but nonetheless, the total percentages are almost identical. So you've got 13% unemployment, but it's affecting, look at the population that it's affecting. So on the household side, your 32% can't afford the roof over their head. On the last 4 weeks, they're saying 13% or 13.7% are going to go bankrupt. Either way, it's really bad.
Mitch, isn't it fair to say that one of the major problems with unemployment is how it affects multiple other job holders? For example, if there's a factory and 2,000 people get unemployed, well, the restaurants around that factory or the daycares or whatever around that factory are also going to lose out because they no longer have those employees making money that we're spending at their facilities. So isn't it fair to say that this can actually spread, and as a result of it spreading and how out of control it can get, don't you think it's really important that someone fesses up and tells us, what is it, 4% or 13%? It's really important to uncover the truth, isn't it?
If you don't deal with the truth, you can't fix the problem. And what we've been hammering on in all these videos and all these spreadsheets and all this analysis and everything else we've been involved with is that exact issue. The truth is the truth. The math is the math. The problem is you can't trust the politicians and trust the math at the same time. The math superimposes and demands transparency. And what you're getting from left hand of the government is a lie, and the right hand of the government is saying half of a lie. Either way, you look at the CPI, it's a lie. So the bottom line is they're manipulating the data, they are cooking the books, and if somebody isn't going to stand up and tell the truth, they're not going to be able to walk this down. And one day the market will wake up and do the walk down for everybody, and that will be a disaster on a global basis. This is just is not in the United States. We've exported our garbage across the globe. We get sick, they all get sick.
I'm going to ask the question whether or not you think 2025 is going to be worse or better, but let's start with the headlines. I only want to show you guys articles from the last couple days because there's a lot going on. Now, the first article is right here. This came out Thursday, January 2nd. Layoffs top 1,600 at Ross warehouses in California. And I don't know if you guys ever shopped at Ross. I did because I lost everything. I shopped at Ross all the time. That hurts me. And that's 1,600 employees across only 6 facilities in that state. So the most affordable, quote unquote, the most affordable stores, Big Lots, Party Zone, or whatever it was, Ross, you guys are all going out of business. Another article right here came out Friday, January 3rd. Microsoft layoffs, a timeline of job cuts throughout the software giant's history. Now, the main point I want to make here is there's really, really big companies. It's not just these little companies, really big companies, Tesla, Amazon, Microsoft, that are laying off employees like crazy. Microsoft employs currently some 228,000 workers globally. And don't forget, Microsoft is a tech company, and they've had massive layoffs as well. So the question is will those continue into 2025? Look at this headline, guys, and this was December 31st. Nearly 9 of 10 of the Illinois job losses announced in November resulted from businesses closing completely. A lot of places closed this year. On Friday, CVS announces layoffs due to loss of Kansas Medicaid contract. In October, CVS announced it would reduce 2,900 corporate positions in a goal to cut costs by $2 billion over several years. However, this new Medicaid contract potentially caused them to go in an even deeper tailspin. You guys, there's things that are happening behind the scenes that we're not even considering. Things falling apart like crazy, and CVS is going through that. This came out on the 2nd of January. This was Thursday. The next time you get laid off, it could be via text or email. So all of the people that think that they can trust their employer and they're part of the family and they would never burn you, you guys are wrong. These guys will burn you, and a lot of them are, even if you've been working there for a long time, are not even going to look at you in the eyes or shake your hand. I quit And about 3 months after I quit, they had a surprise closing down their entire operation. It surprised almost every single employee. And I want you guys to know, 2 months before they laid off everyone, they had a company appreciation dinner. How do you do that and lay off your employees 2 months later? These guys don't care about you. Only you and your friends and family, hopefully, care about you. The last thing here, and this came out January 2nd, Thursday, and this ties into the property tax issues, which is going on right now, and our entire economy is collapsing right underneath our feet. Look at the bonds, look at the ISDs, but look at this, guys, nearly 350 Santa Ana USD teacher employees could be laid off due to a $180 million spending deficit. That's what you and I have been talking about, Mitch, this whole time. And we'll get there in a minute, but I wanted to show you guys again. This is from Thursday, January 2nd. The entire economy is falling apart right under most people's feet, and they don't even know it. Mitch, we're going to get into the property taxes. That's our next segment. Wonderful workups that you did there. But my question for you is on 2025. Now, personally, I think 2025 is going to be a worse year for employment because not only do we have these existing issues with inflation and quantitative tightening, but apparently, the new administration is going to create the DOGE, and they're going to be firing hopefully tens of thousands of government employees. So between what we already have, depending on what the new administration is planning on doing, I don't see how 2025 can't be worse. But what do you think, sir?
Well, what we're dealing with is a cancer, and the cancer is spreading, and the cancer is fraud. So how many employees should be shown the door at the government level? You're talking hundreds of thousands, not 10,000 or 20,000, it's hundreds of thousands. And is it necessarily their fault? No. Is it the fault of the government that's been hiring them to do jobs that they're not capable of, that don't contribute to anything with regard to society itself, other than receiving a paycheck from which they go and spend? Yes. And that's no different than these corporations hiring people on an illusion of the DEI or the ESG. Either way, if you were involved in that and you're now shafting your shareholders because you couldn't produce the dollars that you, the corporation, said you could produce when that is your only job, you, the corporation, deserve to lose. It's unfortunate that the employees get shafted in the process. But everybody is dancing around this idea, well, we can say this and get away with it when there's no economic basis from which to start that process to begin with. The ESG, the DEI, all this nonsense, you still have to this day. Go and look at the FEMA website. They're still promoting DEI. They deserve to be closed. The Federal Reserve has a DEI. Shut it down. Anything that's connected to it, I don't care what it is, corporate or governmental, shut it down. They don't deserve to exist because they're there to steal your money. They've proven they're there to steal your money. It's not a case of, well, let's debate this. They're really not doing this. Yeah, they really are doing this. And yes, mom and pop is hurting. You've got, give or take, 32% of the population is going to lose the roof over their head and or go bankrupt because they can't afford it. And that is the answer to the question of, are we in a recession? Yes, and hell yes.
But my question too is do you think that 2025, as far as the labor market, do you think it's just going to be the same as this year?
No.
Or do you think it's going to be worse?
It's going to be vastly worse. You can probably expect, and it's not out of line because I actually ran that math a little bit last night, but you can expect triple the losses of what has occurred in 2024. And that's not to say that the new administration is going to do anything bad. That's just to say the trajectory. I mean, if you simply look at this on the amount of people that have been laid off on a monthly basis over the last 9 months and project forward, that's what you end up with, is triple the losses. So there's a lot more people that are in harm's way that's not even being taken into account because left hand of the government refuses to tell the truth.
A lot of people don't realize that the economy is already crumbling. Our households are already crumbling right out from underneath our feet. And so what Mitch has done is he's been able, I'll throw the form up right now and I'll have you explain it, but he's been able to calculate how much average property taxes come out of the money that we make. And it's almost 9%. Did you guys know that about 9% of your income goes towards property tax? And that's not even counting the money that you spend. When we count the money that we spend, the things that we're buying that are elevated in price because of property tax, it's even more than this. But Mitch, Vexler, not only can we never fully own our homes, because if we stop paying our property taxes, they will kick us out on the street and they will sell our tax lien information to a pack of wolves. So Mitch, I know I glitched out there a little bit, but can you explain what we're looking at here? And I'll just go down this as you're talking.
Well, as we said a couple of videos ago, we are not mainstream media. When there's a question to be asked, we'll ask the question, we'll provide the evidence, and we'll give the solution. And that's really what makes what we're doing completely different, because we can use the math to create the solution and explain what's happening. Well, in the last video that Travis and I did, we were talking about the credit card defaults. Why have they spiked? Okay, that's a question. What has inflation done? In other words, that's really what sort of damage has inflation done? How does the real estate tax cause bankruptcies? That's directly correlated to the question above. Why is the consumer purchasing power slowing? Well, okay, fine. So under uscensus.gov, we figured out what the average expenses were per household, and that's the list there. So the housing expenses, including maintenance, improvements, utilities, and insurance, are $10,000. Mortgage expenses on a $272,000 average price house, $26,000. Home real estate tax, $7,000. Pay attention to that number. That's the average tax across the United States. Transportation, this is money that an average family is spending, $12,200. Food, $9,000. Personal insurance and pensions, $8,700. Entertainment, $3,400. Healthcare, $5,800. Personal care, $864. Apparel, $1,900. Total average expenses, this according to uscensus.gov, $89,700. Those are the total expenses. The average expenses of a family of four is $101,000. That's another government number. The average expenses for a family of four is $8,460. That's the difference, okay? That's per month. So it's $8,460 per month is what they're spending. Now, here's the problem. The average income is $80,610. $80,610 minus the average expenses of $89,700, your net out of pocket, you're upside down $9,000. Now, to Travis's point, when people say, why do you keep talking about the real estate taxes? Because that real estate tax, as a percent of that loss, is 77%. In other words, look at it this way. The difference of somebody going bankrupt or not going bankrupt is the real estate tax. That's why we keep hammering on this. Now, unfortunately, it's taken me all this time to be able to get down to this number, but nonetheless, we're here. So then on top of that real estate tax, that 77% loss, you add in the implicit guarantee that we've broken down, totaling $1,310,000, which is a total of $9,000 a month. That's over and above all that, which cannot be paid. So why is the consumer purchasing power slowing? The answer is you're upside down by $20,000. In other words, they don't have it. Why are your credit card debts going into 50% default? The answer is because you're upside down by $20,000 and they're using the credit cards to stall off a bankruptcy, which is the exact opposite thing they should be doing. So by the time you get done all of this, what you realize is that the real estate tax, as a percentage of the median income, you're giving up almost 9% of your income in real estate tax. And we know, and we have the evidence and the proof, that the central appraisal districts are committing fraud because they have increased the value of the homes roughly 100% in 5 years, yet inflation is only around 15% max in that, allegedly by the government numbers, in that same 5-year period. The bottom line is, this proves, again, irrefutably, that the real estate taxes are nothing more than a tax on income. It's got nothing to do with the value of the house. The whole thing is an illusion. It is a scam. It is a fraud. And it is the difference between people being able to survive or going bankrupt. That is what this system has done. And that is exactly why this is all hands on deck. Mom and pop can't take this anymore. They're going to make people desperate.
Well said, Mitch. And for the viewers, the document that we just went over is going to be linked in the description, as are many other documents. I would really encourage you guys to go to the description. It takes a lot of time to put those documents together. Download those documents and just share them. Mitch, there's a lot of problems here. I would say one huge one is transparency and apathy. Great job today. I expect 2025 to blindside so many people. You don't have to be blindsided to the viewers. And if you are worried about your job, just do something magical that people forgot how to do, which is called a resume. Just do a resume and make it look good. And if you turn your resume in, don't forget, follow up. Following up is a really big deal if you want a job. And also, I just want to say to all of the young adults that have never experienced job loss in their entire adult lives, you guys, it's not normal to get sign-on bonuses. It's not normal to have 2-3 jobs to choose from. Normally, you have to fight for your job and prove to your employer that you're an unreplaceable asset. That's how I grew up. Don't forget that, guys. Now, before we go, Mitch, hope you had a great weekend. Happy Sunday. Any closing words, sir?
We have more documents coming your way. We're trying to, one video is long, one on the other hand, a video may be shorter, but there's much more coming probably in the next video that Travis and I do to break that, what you just saw, to break that spreadsheet down even further. Yeah, those are a couple of the points right there. So
oh, they're coming. They're coming.
Yeah, they're coming.
Our next video, I don't want to give them all the gold yet. Plus, it's it's nice to get back. It's taken me some time to just decompress and transition back to normal economy and housing market stuff. So I really appreciate all you guys' support when I was out in North Carolina and Tennessee. Thank you for your patience as well, Mitch. And thank you for just giving and sharing your opinion and not taking advantage of people. That means a lot to me and to many, many other people. And other than that, guys, if you're out there just trying to survive, investing in the stock market and investing in real estate, you guys already know that we wish you luck and we hope you win.